In the world of global power politics, there are rare moments that quietly reshape the direction of history. These moments are not always announced with headlines or dramatic speeches, but their impact can be felt for decades. Today, we are looking at one of those moments. For a very long time, the relationship between the Gulf states and the United States was considered one of the strongest strategic partnerships in the modern world. This alliance was built on a simple but powerful foundation. The Gulf region held vast energy resources that fueled the global economy, while the United States provided military protection, political backing, and security guarantees. This relationship created a balance that shaped not only the Middle East but also the global order. It influenced wars, economies, and international diplomacy. Many believed this partnership was too important to ever truly weaken. But now, something is changing. Without dramatic announcements or direct confrontation, the Gulf nations are gradually shifting their approach. They are no longer willing to rely entirely on a single global power. Instead, they are exploring new partnerships, building new alliances, and redefining their role in the world. This shift may appear subtle at first glance, but its consequences could be enormous. In recent years, Gulf countries have taken clear steps toward a more independent foreign policy. They have strengthened economic ties with rising global powers, especially in Asia. Trade agreements, energy cooperation, and long-term investment strategies are being developed at a pace that was not seen before. At the same time, these nations have increased their diplomatic engagement with countries that were once considered outside their traditional sphere of influence. This includes deeper coordination in energy markets, joint economic initiatives, and strategic dialogues that reflect a changing global landscape. This transformation did not happen suddenly. It is the result of years of evolving concerns, shifting priorities, and growing uncertainty. One of the key factors behind this change is trust. Over time, Gulf nations have faced situations where they felt that their security concerns were not fully addressed. Delays in response, changing policies, and shifting priorities in Washington created doubts about long-term reliability. While the partnership still exists, it no longer carries the same unquestioned confidence it once did. At the same time, the global balance of power has been evolving. New economic centers have emerged, offering alternative opportunities for trade, investment, and cooperation. For Gulf nations, this created a strategic opening to diversify their relationships and reduce dependency. This is not simply about choosing one side over another. It is about creating flexibility in an increasingly unpredictable world. And this is where the situation becomes more complex. Because this shift is happening at a time when global tensions are already high, conflicts are ongoing, alliances are being tested, and uncertainty is growing across multiple regions. The war we are witnessing today is no longer a traditional conflict with clear sides and defined outcomes. It has evolved into something much more complicated. It is a conflict shaped by influence rather than direct confrontation. A conflict where multiple powers are involved, but none are fully committed to a decisive resolution. Each player is pursuing its own interests, often indirectly, while trying to avoid the risks of full-scale escalation. This creates a dangerous environment, because when no single side has complete control and no clear path to victory exists, conflicts tend to continue indefinitely. They become prolonged, unpredictable, and increasingly difficult to resolve. This is why many analysts believe that the current situation has no clear exit. There is no simple solution, no quick agreement, and no immediate resolution in sight. Every attempt to stabilize the situation introduces new challenges, and every decision carries unintended consequences. At the same time, the economic implications of this shift are equally significant. The Gulf region plays a central role in global energy supply. Any change in its political direction has a direct impact on oil markets, energy prices, and economic stability worldwide. If Gulf nations continue to move toward a more independent and diversified strategy, global energy dynamics could shift in ways that are difficult to predict. Price volatility could increase, supply chains could be affected, and countries that rely heavily on energy imports may face new economic pressures. For developing nations, this could create serious challenges. Rising energy costs often lead to inflation, increased living expenses, and slower economic growth. The impact is not limited to governments or industries. It reaches ordinary people in their daily lives. Meanwhile, major global powers are adjusting to this new reality. Emerging powers are expanding their influence through economic partnerships, infrastructure investments, and long-term strategic planning. Established powers, on the other hand, are working to maintain their position in a rapidly changing environment. This is not a direct confrontation, but it is a competition for influence, access, and long-term advantage. And unlike traditional conflicts, this competition does not take place on a battlefield. It unfolds through diplomacy, trade, technology, and strategic positioning. In this environment, decisions are rarely simple. Every agreement, every partnership, and every policy shift carries multiple layers of meaning. What appears to be an economic decision may also have political and strategic implications. This makes the global system more interconnected, but also more fragile. One of the most important questions now is whether this shift represents a temporary adjustment or a permanent transformation. Some observers believe that Gulf nations are simply adapting to current conditions. They are expanding their options without fundamentally changing their long-term alignment. Others argue that this is a deeper structural shift, a transition toward a world where power is distributed more evenly and no single country holds dominant influence. If this second view is correct, then the implications are profound. It would mean the end of a long-standing global framework and the beginning of a new, more complex system. In such a system, alliances are not fixed. They evolve based on interests, circumstances, and changing priorities. Cooperation and competition can exist at the same time, creating a constantly shifting landscape. This may offer new opportunities, but it also introduces new risks. Uncertainty becomes a defining feature of the system. Stability becomes harder to maintain, and managing conflicts becomes more challenging. As we look ahead, it is clear that the world is entering a period of transition. The structures that once defined global politics are being tested. Relationships that seemed permanent are being reevaluated, and new patterns are beginning to emerge. This transformation will not happen overnight. It will unfold gradually, shaped by decisions, events, and unforeseen developments. But its impact will be far-reaching. It will influence how countries interact, how economies function, and how conflicts are managed. It will affect governments, businesses, and individuals alike. In the end, this is not just a story about the Gulf or about Washington. It is a story about change, a story about how power evolves, how alliances shift, and how the global system adapts to new realities. The questions that arise from this moment are complex and difficult. Will this shift lead to greater balance or greater instability? Will ongoing conflicts find resolution or become permanent features of the global landscape? And how will these changes shape the future for the rest of the world? For now, there are no clear answers. Only a growing sense that the world is moving into a new phase, one that will define the years ahead. And as this transformation continues, one thing remains certain. The decisions being made today will shape the future in ways we are only beginning to understand.